Full Send Racing Series has flown themselves across the pond to Twin Ring Motegi over, if I remember correctly, in Japan. Wouldn't be the first time since NASCAR has gone to Japan in a sense. They did so, I believe, in 1993 for an exhibition event for the Cup Series, but that was over at Suzuka. But today we are here at the Mobility Resort Motegi Oval, old name Twin Ring Motegi, but we are at Motegi nonetheless. Welcome to the Racing Line Network. Hopefully everyone is having a wonderful evening or morning or whatever time you're watching this. It doesn't even have to be live at all. But we are here. Qualifying is currently underway. We are opting to wait and instead show you what is up next throughout this event and throughout the series as well here in just a couple of moments. First up is the schedule. We are currently 2 races down, where Andrew Medlin had won at Daytona. Brian McCann won at Atlanta just last week, not including the Clash, where Hunter Karsten had won that series after stretching his tires for 81 laps. Mobility Resort Motegi, that is not a typo with the lap count. We are running for 99 laps. Not only that, the stage ends at lap 35, the last race of the month before we move on to Dover back in the States and then go over to Austria, Spielberg specifically, for the Red Bull Ring. And oh boy, it's going to be one heck of a race there. I'm still looking forward to that. But tonight we are here at Motegi for 99 laps. Of course, we also bring you the point standings coming into this event as well, where currently it is Tony Brent leading the point standings coming into this event, but only by 4 points over Trey Jackson. Hunter Karsten at 68 points, Travis Starr at 64 points, and Michael Thorpe Jr. rounding out the top 5 at 63 points. The cutoff is at 12th place, which we don't technically have to worry about too much as of yet, but seeing 4 different drivers tied at 50 points is a little bit worrisome if I were them. I can say that for certain. So the points will be updating throughout the night as well based on positions, hopefully, we will see, as well as updated at the completion of the stage. And do we have an event here on tap for you tonight? I am excited. I like to call this track Gateway but large, solely because of just how wide this track is. As we would bring you to the track itself and unceremoniously cut off the music. Sorry, music, but hopefully get a more ceremonious exit another time. Implode all of a sudden over here, and that was the worst possible timing. So currently working on getting back in as quickly as possible. No doubt we have missed the race start, so again, apologies for that. But I guess internet knows no bounds when it just wants to fail, apparently. The one time when you think it's reliable, it ends up just not being reliable. So currently working on getting back into the session as of right now, and it shouldn't take too long, considering I had preloaded into the session a little bit beforehand. So hypothetically, we should be able to get back relatively quickly and give you the race at the rest of its distance. This is the part where I actually think, nope, we don't have that information. I was going to say I could try and go over the starting grid, but that is quite literally not possible. So we'll see how things are once we get everything reloaded here. All right, that was an OBS issue, which is mildly concerning, but we are back. We have footage. We have cars on track. It's currently lap 4 under caution for some reason. I would guess somebody had a spin in the back, so we would go through the field and see where everybody has ended up at once we get your timing screen momentarily. Good timing, too, since it is 1 to green. Thrown a little bit off guard. But luckily, as long as we get the stage and the last laps, that's all that matters to me, honestly. Let's see where everybody is on track. Brian McCann is in the first place position. Cameron Sarton will restart on the outside lane. Lovelace will be starting third in the 33, at least restarting. Victor Pfluger in the 80 will restart in fourth. Restarting fifth is Chris Travis Essery. Travis starts sixth. Seventh, Hunter Karsten. Eighth place, Tony Brent, championship leader. Ninth place, Brian Johnson. 10th place, Philip Chavez, and then William Duff, Michael Thorpe Jr., Heberly Telemack, Jared Claude, Ryan Lynch, Larry Griffin, and Doug Pierce will be rounding out the rest of the field. Well, we may have not gotten the main race start, but we will still get at least this race restart, not too far behind the main starting point of this race. Green flag in hand. We're racing here at Mobility Resort Motegi. So Brian McCann has gotten the gap over Cameron Sarton. Sarton as well has broken away from this battle in third place. Zachary Lovelace on the outside lane trying to fend off Victor Pfluger, but that doesn't seem to be possible, at least in turns 1 and 2. So Pfluger will move himself into third place. Right on board Pfluger, who actually scraped the wall there just a little bit off turn 2. But no harm, no foul. Everyone very much spread out here. So all these lanes are available, but of course everyone will be trying to run the lowest lane possible close to the white line. As you see a couple battles here on track. This one for 11 places, Heberly Telemack and William Duff. 88 and 17 car respectively. Again, the stage will end at lap number 35. So a long ways to go here as Brian McCann and Cameron Sarton both start to get themselves away from the rest of the field. Right now, we'll see how things fare throughout these first few laps. Two drivers nose to tail, Travis Start and Michael Thorpe Jr. being a couple one of those two drivers. We'll take a look at Tony Brent here as he makes his way into turns 3 and 4. I'll trial and see if this will work. It will not. could have had something for points. We'll see if this works as well. Seems like kind of, but not necessarily. Tony Brent technically will lead with 106 points over everybody else if the race were to finish now, but there's still quite a ways to go and quite a few things to work out over on this end as well. But one of these days we'll get the live points working properly. No doubt by next race after some further testing. As look at the 15 of Chavez Esser, he just flies into turns 3 and 4 hard on the brakes. That 15 is absolutely brave. Meanwhile, for first and second, Sarton continues to close the gap ever so slightly. He was about a tenth of a second slower. Though, as we have a crash, it's the 80 of Victor Pfluger, who just manages to save it. That's enough for the caution to come out. I'll take a look and see what exactly had happened here going into turns 3 and 4, or turns 1 and 2 rather, and oh no. Luckily we do have multiple angles available to us, but definitely some contact between the 15 and the 80 going into the corner entry there. We'll see what happens here as it's like he just lost grip somehow in some sort of way. I'll take one more look and see what happened here going into turn 1. Pfluger, oh, he tried to follow Lovelace. It's not that they forgot Chris Chavez was there, it's just that no doubt he expected Chris Chavez to move inside with them at the same time, and unfortunately that was not the case during then. Let's see, does anyone decide to go into pit entry? This is a very firm yes. Everyone going into pit road here, save for Brian Johnson, Jared Claude. Doug Pierce does go into pit lane. So all but 2 are in pit road. We'll see where everyone ends up, what the strategy is for some of these drivers. Looks like for some, right side's going up on the car. It'll be 4 tires for a good majority of the field. Yes, it will be. So 15 laps is a pretty decent baseline to see what your tire wear can be. It's a very easy number to have it known, to think of what it is in your head. And well, someone making it known is Cameron Sarton. He is first off pit road. Doug Pierce repairing, looks to be a little bit of damage in his pit box still. The only driver still in pit road, but otherwise, aside from that, Brian Johnson and Jared Claude, the only 2 drivers to currently stay out. And we'll see as we ride on top of the pace car. Do the 27 and the 46 decide to go to pit road? And well, the 46 goes to pit road. Brian Johnson stays out. That is a very intriguing call. Lights will remain active on the pace car for the time being. So no doubt a couple more laps to go before we go back green flag racing. I'm very intrigued as to what Brian Johnson has in store. Does he think he can last the next 20 laps in the top 10? I don't blame him, honestly. In all fairness, he does have a pretty solid shot at doing so. Anything for the extra points. The stage points will go to your immediate points as well. So it could be an immediate benefit for Brian Johnson. It's just a matter of if the tires think that's a good idea. We'll see how things go. Last week's winner being Brian McCann, sitting up here in third place. He has shown in Atlanta that he is a force to be reckoned with after dominating the field, finishing ahead by, I believe, 8 seconds, 8.2 seconds over Lovelace and Thorpe, both of which are here. They're running 4th and 7th, respectively. And the lights go out on the top of the pace car, which, of course, means the universal message of, hey, get ready because we are going green next time around. Sergeant is deciding to say hi to the pace car driver. He's trying to do something to pass the time. This is a 1.5-mile track, believe it or not. And yet, with how wide it is, in fact, let's see if we can get a wide shot here. Here's the 1.5-mile track, all in full view. It looks a lot larger than it is, if you ask me, with the size of this track, especially with how many lanes are available to these drivers. It is borderline intimidating in a sense. And in fact, last week I did call it Gateway but wider. I think more accurately this would be Darlington but wider, and you can just run practically anywhere on the track for the most part, depending on what your tires are feeling, as well as where the drivers have decided to run most on the racetrack as well. Of course, running in the portion of the track that's more rubbered in is a lot more favorable to the tires and the grip of your car. Pace car makes the hard left-hand turn. Now Brian Johnson can go if he decides to, and he does so. Green flag flies once again. And look at that, making it 3 wide on corner entry. On the restart is Brian McCann. Johnson gets split 3 wide. Sarton to the lead. Lovelace to the outside. Drag race off of turn number 2. Sarton leads into turn 3. They are 2 by 3 by 2, I think, from third place all the way through the rest of the field, practically. And we see immediately those fresh tires working wonders for everybody else. A little bit of a scrape on the outside wall on corner entry for the 13. Hunter Carson trying his best to hold on to it up on the outside lane. Doing everything that he can to keep that car under control. And just like that, Brian Johnson has fallen out of, well, almost fallen out of the top 10. Philip Chavez in the 101 up on the outside lane. The understeer kicking in for Brian Johnson. Here comes Heberly Telemac on the inside in the 88. These two will be racing for the 10th place position, what would be effectively the final spot for the stage points. A little bit further up the road, 26, 28, and 80. 6th, 7th, and 8th. And now 7th and 8th, Tony Brent and Victor Pfluger side by side. A little bit of contact, I think, off of turn number 2. And if they did, both of them kept it under wonderful control. Pfluger goes into 7th. Doug Pierce into pit road. As Pfluger gets by, moves himself up to 7th place. Look at this. The roles have reversed now at the start, or the top portion of the timing tower. Cameron Sarton leads the way over Brian McCann. So it looks like the dirty air, in a sense, might not be the most favorable here at this track. And Cameron Sarton got his left side tires right on the inside line on the corner exit of turn number 2. Brian Johnson still faltering with those effectively same set of tires that he started with. I'm actually genuinely quite surprised that 15 laps on the tires makes this much of a difference. It has shown for Brian Johnson, but hey, now he knows for a little bit later in the race when he does need that information. You don't really know until you try it yourself against other drivers especially. In practice, you can only get so much information. 33 and 34, Lovelace and Thorpe. No love lost between these two drivers in the sense of they know their cars very well. They know the respective sides of their cars very well, especially considering these two have ran second and third throughout a majority of last week's race at Atlanta. Two drivers scraping the wall on corner entry. No harm, no foul. Just a little bit of a paint scuff more than anything else. I believe Telemac has gotten by Philip Chavez in the 101 for the 10th place position. Down the entry to turn number 1, if not down the straightaway. Again, the field relatively spread out here. This is one of those races where you start to race the track more than the drivers. At least that's my opinion, especially with how wide this track is and how precise that you would have to be. We'll see how things fare in these next 10 or so laps. Everyone relatively close together. I see that Lovelace has thrown his left side tires onto that white lane once again, or white line. Running that low lane, so I was about to get at, is of course very beneficial. Of course, one of those no duh kind of comments, but you see how everyone is not really willing to run to the outside. It's not the most possible, at least as of yet. It's not exactly the most favored lane to even run about 2 lanes higher, if not 1 lane higher, to try and see if that would work. Travis Dart is trying just that thing, but he's not running a full lane higher. It's more of a half a lane width, so not too much difference between all the lanes these drivers will be running throughout the night. Regardless, we'll see how things fare. 10 laps to go until the completion of the stage. No cautions at the end of the stage. We will keep running. Cameron Sarton continues to log those laps on the board. Quite literally in second place, Brian McCann sitting in the number 8 car. Chris Chavez Essery lurking here in the number 15. Michael Thor Jr. looks to be closing the gap just a little bit, lap by lap. Last time around, believe it or not, he was about 5 hundredths, sorry, of a second slower. 5 100ths of a second slower. Ryan Johnson getting passed by Ryan Lynch. That same set of tires just not working as well as he had hoped. It was a gamble and it didn't pay off, but again, now he knows for the rest of the race when everyone else pits, it might be for the best idea. In fact, the driver that pit 1 lap later than everybody else was the 46 of Jared Claude. He sits back here in the 13th place position. Might have gained or lost a couple of spots, mitigated his positions, but he sits in 13th nonetheless. Not necessarily a awful point scoring position as well. That is very interesting. It's been at the speed of Cameron Sarton as he goes into turns 1 and 2. You can hear how gentle he is. Listen to what he does and note out what the field is doing in 3 and 4. Very interesting that now he doesn't downshift. He did downshift last corner. That gained him a 1/10 of a second advantage. Last time by at the start finish line, he is still 2/10-ish well, I'll say 0.12 seconds or so faster than Brian McCann. So whatever Sargent's doing, it is working. That is for sure. Chris Chavez Essery is starting to close the gap between himself and McCann. About 0.05 seconds faster was the 15. In fact, we'll see if we can get any... We do not have any points data available. Regardless, let's see what the fastest lap was, what the previous lap was, especially for Chris Chavez. 39.57 as the 1,000th rounds out a little bit. Chris Chavez is closing the gap for second place. It's only, quote-unquote, only 1 point. But that 1 point especially matters. If you're not going to be running for first, you might as well try and get that 1 point over somebody else in the stage, which could double to a net second extra point. A net 2 points, I should say, at the end of the race. Because first place gets 40 points, second place gets 35, and then it's minus 1 point for every position lower than that. So hypothetically, Chris Chavez could get a 2-point advantage over Brian McCann, at least in this race. In the point standings, it might be something entirely different. That's something we would bring up if it would be a little bit cooperative, but there's a couple things that have to be worked out in the meantime. As Jonathan Burt looks like he's towed to pit road, I believe. In fact, he is not towed to pit road, he's just now joined. I wonder if he also happened to have connection issues. He is 31 laps down. That might be a yes. It's either connection issues or he was late, in fact. Oh, there he is. And he did not set a qualifying time, interestingly enough. Regardless, he is in the running, and of course, you'd probably be wondering, well, why would Jonathan Burt continue to run if he is in 18th place 32 laps down now? Well, that 1 extra point matters. If you don't show up, you don't get any points. So you might as well arrive, get that 1 or 2 extra points while you can from any occasional DNFs, and take advantage of that. The stage ends in 2 laps. It will end at the completion of lap 35. Cameron Sarton leads the way for the time being. Brian McCann has gotten himself a little bit separated from the 15 of Chris Chavez. A little bit further back, Tony Brent is about 0.4 of a second ahead, or at least in between himself and Travis Dart. We'll see how things fare as we reach the final lap in the stage. And of course, because Jonathan Burt has just got himself on the track, he does have 20 lap fresher tires than everybody else. Let's see how things fare for Burt throughout this race. This is the last lap in the stage. And Cameron Sarton, ever since passing Brian McCann on pit road in pit stops, a 14.4 second pit stop versus McCann's 14.9 second pit stop, it has proved successful for Cameron Sarton. He wins the stage, 10 extra points going to that number 1 machine. Brian McCann finishes second in the stage. Chris Chavez third. Michael Thorpe Jr. fourth. Fifth, Zachary Lovelace. Sixth, Travis Dart. Seventh, Tony Brent. Eighth, Victor Pfluger, appropriately in the 80. Hunter Karsten just behind in ninth. And then 10th is Philip Chavez. So that is your stage finish. Now I'll be updated appropriately in the point standings here as the race continues on. But in the meantime, let's ride on board somebody who's a little bit under... Oh, well, never mind, as the 80 of Victor Pfluger is hard into the outside wall. And that might be day done for the number 80. I think he's just waiting to see if we can get it refired. Oh, that's... Oh, man. Well... If it's not day done, yeah, that steering is very broken. I don't know if I would, I think he's about to find out the hard way here. Regardless, the caution is out. Let's take a look and see what happened to Victor Fluger here. Going into turns 3 and 4, did he lose it on his own? Let's see, going into turns 3 and 4. Oh no, did he get contact from Carsten? Oh, it sure looked that way, that's for sure. Let's back up and ride on board the 13. Oh, just an earlier braking than expected. Man, that's a hit and a half. I didn't hear any contact, so maybe there was... I don't know. It's definitely just one of those racing deals, that is for sure. I will come back live to see everybody and their mother and father and probably their dog in pit stops. Oh, and that is an overshoot for Cameron Sarton. We were just watching that too. Remember what I said about that 14.4 second gap versus the 14.9 second time in the pit box? Well, for Cameron Sarton, it is about to be a lot longer than that, especially in pit road. He is still sitting in his pit box after 22 seconds. 23.4 seconds in his box, and just like that, Sarton is 12th. So Brian McCann leads now here at Motegi. Chris Travis Esri second. Third place is Michael Thorpe Jr. Fourth, Travis Starr, and fifth is Tony Brent. While we have a chance, we'll take this opportunity to take a quick break. So stay tuned, as we'll be back here momentarily on the Racing Line Network.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Oh, sorry, Bumper, we're not going to have you today. Welcome back to Mobility Resort Motegi, where we do have, luckily, the points update for you as we are on 1 lap to green. That should be the updated points, you would think. But potentially that might not be the case. Victor Fluger, 9th place. Well, we'll see if that does update in the meantime. Regardless, though, it is still 1 lap to green here at Motegi. The stage is currently over and done with, so now all we have to do is set our sights for the race going to the end. And side by side for second between Chris Chavez Ezri and Michael Thorpe Jr. as they go side by side down into turns 1 and 2 here on this restart. And immediately Brian McCann already has a 6.5 lead, nearly bump drafting into turns 3 and 4, the 34 and 15. And the 34 Thorpe is sliding throughout turn number 3, midway through turn 3 and 4 in between, and somehow he not only manages to hang on to the car, but he hangs on to second. Quite unbelievable car control, if you ask me. If we had one of those fancy slow motion shots, which noting that for next week, we would definitely show that again. But Thorpe not only has the car in control, but starting to set his sights on the 8th machine. Setting our sights around the 8th place position, give or take 1 or 2 positions, are Ryan Lynch and Heberly Telemack. Lynch in the number 3. We get passed by the 88 machine as Heberly makes his way up into the top 10. A little bit of a stack up there behind. I saw William Duff hard on the brakes. Brian Johnson finally on the same set of tires as everybody else. Going to make his way around the outside of Hunter Carson on corner exit. Not necessarily able to do so. Heberly was loose off the corner. I saw the 88 machine way down on the inside, which could only mean one thing, and that car is loose. And same with everybody, actually. Ryan Lynch also pushing the car into turn number 3. Everyone sees those spots, sees that they're available, and they're going for it. Right now, looks like the only battle is going to be between the 27 and the 3, which will be one out by Johnson in the 27. He makes his way up to 13th place. Ryan Lynch still trying to keep his car under control for the most part. I wonder if he really burnt up those tires on that slide just a couple of laps ago. And in fact, Johnson has set his sights on William Duff in the 17. Battle for 12th place. Johnson seems well at home on that inside lane. I mean, pretty much everybody else is well at home on the inside lane, let's be honest, but that doesn't discount the fact that he is moving his way up through the field. Victor Fluger, by the way, has, you may have seen just as we had gone to a break, Victor Fluger has decided to call it a day and take the car behind the virtual wall and pull it into the virtual hauler and move on to Dover. Going to be the first one to effectively get an early flight. You see Travis Dart get passed by the 34 of Lovelace. And Travis Dart, even from this angle, could just see the car kick out on corner exit, sliding those Goodyear tires. Running about that lane or so higher, the highest lane that everybody has ran today for the most part. can hear how gentle the 28 of Tony Brent is. Being very careful with the throttle. In fact, I know exactly why our our points haven't updated. There's an update button. Whoops. That almost works. Actually, you know, that kind of works for the most part. Now, Tony Brent did not have 82 points before this race, but that is a good sign that points have been updated. So we will show those when we are able to. Unfortunately, the current points not working as of right now. We'll see if we can get those adjusted for next week, as Ryan Lynch has scuffed his tires beyond belief. Apparently, he's falling back. He's just not having the best day right now, but again, every single point in this case matters. It's way better than not being able to show up and have 0 points. Quick note on the paint scheme design as well for the 3 of Ryan Lynch. Love how that blue goes around the number 3. Very good attention to detail. Speaking of attention to detail, Thorpe is going to be paying close attention to the back bumper of that 15 of Chris Chavez Esser here as we make our way off turn number 4, time number 2, correction. Chavez kind of breaking the slipstream a little bit, braking early. Downshifting we hear is Michael Thorpe. That's right in car. Now maybe that's why my brain kind of associates this track a little bit with Gateway, is that you downshift in turns 3 and 4, while cross flags being shown halfway. Well, that might have been a couple laps ago, but regardless, we were still halfway through the race regardless. That means only one thing, maybe 1 or 2 more pit stops on tap for these drivers tonight, depending on how things get sorted out. Thorpe setting his sights right on those rear taillights. Of Chris Chavez. And through all of this, Brian McCann still setting the pace 1/10 of a second faster than Chris Chavez, who is a 1/10 of a second faster than Michael Thorpe, who is a 1/10 of a second faster than Travis Dart, who is 0.01 seconds faster than Tony Brent. And that's a little bit of a mini pattern going on. See Jonathan Burt making his way up slowly through the field. 15 more laps, give or take, and Jonathan Burt will be up in 16th place. I believe out of technicality, this gap for second place is the closest battle on track, and nicely out of technicality because we have William Duff and Heberly Telemack battling for the 10th place position. Duff trying to arc it back in line, follow Duff off the corner, follow Heberly off the corner. And side by side, the 88 and 17 will go. No doubt this is not the first time that we've seen these two side by side, and it won't be the last. This is anything to go by as Duff just barely slides. Heberly's going to try for the crossover, but man, what defensive driving by the 17. Just stuck it right on the apron. Well, not even on the apron, just stuck it right on the low line, parked it on the apex, and just simply denied any opportunity of Heberly to get that crossover. What racecraft. And in fact, I believe William Duff is he's running about a lane and a half higher than some of these other drivers. We'll take a look from the blimp here. Zoom in just a little bit. fact, as you see just behind Brian Johnson getting by Heberly Telemac as well. Johnson not giving Heberly the opportunity to go to the inside lane, so Heberly will just set back. Try for another time. In fact, might try it here. You can just hear how low the revs are as well. Look at Travis Starr. He's not the, well, definitely not the first or last person to run that high up, but it's not going to fare too well for Travis Starr. Here comes Cameron Sarton after overshooting his pit box in the last pit stop under yellow, which luckily it was under yellow for Sarton. Has made his way up through the field. In fact, he spent one extra time. It might have been under caution during the break that we had. But Sarton has charged his way through the field back up to 5th place. I believe Brian McCann may have a little bit of a challenge on his hands, at least at this track especially. Keeping an eye on these 4 drivers here, around 4th through 7th. That's a low collection, technically 3rd through 7th. That's a low collection of drivers running various lines. Travis Starr running a little bit higher, so Travis Starr and Tony Brent trying to run the higher lane, trying to see if that's going to help them out a little bit, but it's only putting them in the line of fire for Cameron Sarton and opening the door as well on the inside lane. I think that was more Travis Starr just letting Cameron Sarton go through, which, fair enough. I also wouldn't want to be in between Cameron Sarton and the inside lane, that is for sure. In fact, checking back a little bit, Tony Brent, Zachary Lovelace, 6th and 7th. To the inside goes Lovelace. Basically tried to get off the corner. Didn't work too well. That'll try here off turn number 2. That extra throttle push helped greatly for Zachary Lovelace. And Tony Brent just says, all right, you can have it. I don't want to compromise myself here on corner entry. Very smart move by Tony Brent. Still quite a few laps to go. 40 specifically, as Lovelace has ceased existence, specifically in turn 3 and 4. Not the, it's certainly a strategy to confuse your opponents. Of course, I know all too well about internet connection issues, not only while sim racing, but apparently broadcasting. Well, with 39 laps to go, Brian McCann leads by 2.6 seconds. Nope, that's just a 2.0. 2.0 seconds over Chris Chavez Essery, who leads over Michael Thorpe, who leads over Cameron Sarton. However, Sarton is going to say otherwise, especially with that slide off turn number 4 for Michael Thorpe Jr. He is pushing the tires off of that car. In fact, we've also run long enough to where we could probably start to think about maybe green flag pit stops. The inside goes Cameron Sarton with the number 1 back up into the podium positions, and again the 34 sliding those rear tires. Trying to do everything he can. Stay ahead of Cameron Sarton, or at least within range of battling. Let's check in on William Duff around the top 10 position. So make his way off turn number 2. That is Larry Griffin, who has had a relatively quiet day, not in a bad way. In fact, we should be able to see where everybody started here with this. Nope, we can't. That's actually very unfortunate. Well, regardless, Larry Griffin is going to be defending against the 17 of William Duff. A quiet day for Larry Griffin doesn't mean necessarily a bad day, as he's still within the top 10, and I would say that's a win any day of the week, especially with the total 10 seconds that he has between himself and the leader of Brian McCann. Even then, only, quote-unquote, 8 seconds between himself and Chris Chavez in second. Again, one of those race the track and not the cars type of races is I would like to think of this kind of race as. William Duff, however, has other ideas in mind, because he sees the 77 of Griffin in front of him, and he thinks, well, I could race the track, however, I could get 1 extra point. Which is no doubt very, very, very possible. That with this run off turn number 2, riding on board, braking early, and Griffin slows it way down. Is going to try for the crossover. We saw it saw an attempt at a crossover before, but no, Griffin decides against it. Brian Johnson's twitching off turn number 4 there. Number 4 seems to be a problem spot for not only the 34 but the 27. This will be the next closest battle on track between second and third, Chris Chavez and Cameron Sarton. Sarton, last time by at the line, 0.2 of a second faster, give or take a few hundredths, 0.2 of a second faster than Chris Chavez. He was not faster than the leader, however, this time by at the line. Nope, still slower than Brian McCann, but faster than Chris Chavez. Seems pretty set in stone for the time being. Let's go back to the battle for 4th place, where Thorpe has fallen into the clutches of Travis Starr, where 0.4 of a second difference. The advantage going to Travis Starr, a 40.538 for Michael Thorpe Jr. versus a 40.154 for Travis Starr last time by at the start-finish line. They still make their way off turn 4, past the start-finish line, past the main grandstands. In fact, Cameron Sarton, I saw, was on the bumper of Chris Chavez. Sarton's car doing the same thing that Johnson's did off turn 4, kind of pulling to the left a little bit, but not sure if that's an intentional decision, as I see just barely in the background, Thorpe got loose on corner entry into turn number 3, and I think Travis Starr might have as well, so definitely 2 battles happening here at the same time. It's just which driver is going to strike first in these respective battles, and it's going to be Cameron Sarton striking first for 2nd place. He makes his way through. Chris Chavez does have a chance to retaliate in the sense of trying to get that position back, trying to take away the inside line here into turns 3 and 4, but now he is too far back to do so, I feel like. Checking back in with Thorpe and Dart, at least Travis Dart for that matter. Nothing doing as of yet. Thorpe still twitchy off turn 4. 30 laps to go at the start-finish line. Jonathan Burt has made his way up to 16th. Despite not even qualifying for this race, technically, potentially having connection issues, he is having a wonderful, wonderful recovery as Heberly gets passed by teammate, question mark? Teammate, I think, yeah. Teammate Jared Claude. I was looking at the hood logo for a second, and the different colors have thrown me off for a moment. Hence my confusion. little bit of a three-car battle here. I was about to say top three battle, a three-car battle here between the 27, the 77, and the 3. And this is all for the 10th place position. Brian Johnson, Larry Griffin, and Ryan Lynch. Johnson sitting firmly in the top 10 for now, although last time by the line, actually, he was quite a ways faster. Larry Griffin's tires may be starting to give up just ever so slightly. We'll check back in with the battle for the 4th place position as Travis Stark goes way up top on the outside lane. Now, I'm not an expert, but I wouldn't say that's the most preferred lane. And across the start finish line last time by, 5/10 of a second difference between Thorpe and Travis Starr. I think Travis at this point is just trying to save his tires and trying to arc down in turn 2, run the lane. That's probably what he wanted to do in 3 and 4, but the track had just decided, well, no. You know, back for the top 10, Larry Griffin running way up top, the same line Travis was running. I think Larry Griffin just tried to stay out of the way. Trying to do what he can, at least keep the car under control. So Ryan Lynch will try and have a chance at going after Brian Johnson. Does Larry Griffin go to pit road? No, I thought he would for a moment. If Lanya is running, I thought it was going to be possible. But just like that, now that Cameron Sarton has gotten by Chris Chavez Ezra, you can see the gap to the leader. We'll change that to the interval for you. You can see the gap between these drivers has absolutely, is just gone. Sarton is checked out from Chavez. "26 laps to go at the start-finish line." Oh, and the downshift for Ryan Lynch may not have gone well. Same with the very low corner entry. I heard that, and I saw the slide from the 3. Look at how much space he's giving. Just to be like, hey, I didn't mean that, by the way. See how things fare right now to make their way into turns 3 and 4. Turns 1 and 2. I don't know how I'm confusing that. It's a little bit embarrassing. You see the attempt of a pass again by Ryan Lynch on the inside lane. Sticking those left side tires right on the white line, and that corner exit is going to get him 10th place at the start-finish line with 25 laps to go. Will he be able to firmly stay by? No, he will not. He just, look at that. I love that. This is why I love the blimp camera angle, because he saw the twitch that the 3 had gotten. He put the left side tires below onto the apron, slowed up a little bit, but he had such a better corner exit compared to Brian Johnson that you could see Lynch physically pull away. You can also see Lynch physically sliding the rear tires off of the car practically. You can see the difference there on corner exit. That is wonderful. That's something you don't see from trackside angles too often. That's why the top-down angles are usually the best angles in some instances. And it showcases a little bit, just that little bit of extra information that even onboards can't necessarily show you. 24 laps to go. Cameron Sarton will cross the start-finish line. Brian McCann, again, just the same thing that he did last week at Atlanta. Once he gets into the lead, he is just gone. And by the way, this is a fix-up series. So whatever McCann has been doing in his spare time, which is probably just a lot of racing, let's be honest, is working relatively well. Even though it doesn't matter in the league sense, his I rating is currently 5,001. That one is just there for show, I guess. Cameron Sarton's I rating, 5,800, give or take. Both of them at 4.99 safety rating, A class, and not the last few drivers that are at that safety rating. and able to be at that safety rating as well as just stay competitive like this is absolutely impressive. Well, part of me wants to go to a side-by-side break, but I feel like the moment we do, we'll be going to pit stops, and in fact, nope, that's just slowing down. Okay, slowing down for the corner, not slowing down for pit road. 21 laps to go. We'll see what happens here at the start-finish line, or in the next couple laps. But Brian McCann is just setting the field alight. William Duff. Actually, speaking of pit stops, Heberly Telemack is the first driver to blink in terms of pit stops. 88 machine will go to the end with these with effectively 21 lap old tires by the end of the race. So fresh tires for the 88 machine. And those two will be the 88 will be a car to keep an eye on for lap times. Another car to keep an eye on is William Duff and Philip Chavez in the 101 and the 17. Reverse that at least. This is for 8th place in the standings. Let's see if our live championship is working. Technically, yes. Also, not really. It is almost there. It's almost in working condition. You can kind of pick out who is where. 110 points for Tony Brent, currently where he sits. Travis Start at 97, tied with Michael Thorpe Jr., which, by the way, they are 4th and 5th, respectively. Those stage points doing a lot of work in both of their favors. 1 point extra will be going to William Duff if he can get by the 101 of Philip Chavez. And by the way, last time by the start-finish line for Heberly Telemack, a 38.669 versus Brian McCann's 40.090. That is the difference of timing, about a second and a half between the current set of tires that everybody is on versus a fresh set of tires. In fact, Heberly's actually gone a lap down. That has been listed as a lap down, so I wonder if it was 43 seconds going through pit road, including the pit stop, sitting directly behind teammate Jared Claude. Saying, all right, this is what we can do together. And while the time between these two, 38.869 versus a 41.410 for Jared. But this is not for position, as Heberly is 1 lap down. Does Jared decide to go to pit road next? He does not. Well, 18 laps to go, coming to 17 laps to go here at the start-finish line. He's going to blink to come to pit road first, if at all, is going to be the main question. So we're going to try and stretch out their tires once again. Philip Chavez under fire from Ryan Lynch. This being for 9th place. William Duff just a little bit up ahead there in the 17. He is currently sitting 8th. Look at Ryan Lynch sending it to the inside, arcing it down. Beautiful job. And see how he has the line off the corner. Relatively stable. Same standard exit. The standard corner exit of everybody else. And Philip Chavez, well off the pace, actually off turn number 2. He ran the top side. Decided to effectively let Ryan Lynch go through. And there is Brian Johnson in the 11th place position. Looking to get that ever so elusive 10th place. Wow, that was a slide from William Duff. And again sliding. He backs out by a lot on corner entry. I think what he wanted to do was arc back out to the main racing line to the outside wall and then go into the corner. But, well, we physically saw him go, no, absolutely not. Which is a very wise call because those tires were already boiling, basically, off of turn 4. Once you slide those tires, it takes a bit for those to cool down, and once you overheat them, it is game over. Battle for 10th place heating up between Johnson and Chavez. That's a little collection of 3, if not 4 cars. 8th through 11th. It's right on board Brian Johnson for a couple laps or so. Well, putting that plan aside, as Brian Johnson has very different ideas, giving all the space possible to Philip Chavez on corner exit, making sure that there is still racing room. Look at that. Philip Chavez just taking the air off the nose effectively of Brian Johnson. But look at that midway corner between both of those drivers. Both of them have that same second touch to the inside white line. As if there's a yellow line on the grass, it probably is actually. But that white line there, basically being the apron, of course. Look at the difference. Look at the slide from the 27 from up above. One thing he's not doing is following that 101 off of the corner to follow with that, keeping that momentum off of turn 4. Johnson has other ideas now. He's going to try and arc it in through turn 1, midway through the corner. Look at that speed difference. That is, again, something you do not see. Is he going to try and go to the outside? He does not. He's kind of stuck behind Philip Chavez here. Speaking of drivers being stuck behind somebody, I'm starting to think that Lovelace might not be stuck behind Travis Dart for too long. And say stuck behind, well, Travis Dart did not really have the best last lap necessarily, I don't think, at least a couple laps ago. Went through all the battles that are going on. Having screen lining up with red, warning, hey, there's a couple battles here. As for 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th especially, because Ryan Lynch is about to go by the incoming championship leader into this race, Tony Brent. It goes in the outside wall off turn 2. Not too hard of a hit, just scrapes the outside wall, but I'll move Ryan Lynch up 1 position as Ryan Lynch slides through turns 3 and 4. And Tony Brent will lose another position, potentially, to William Duff. And oh, by the way, just in the background here, just getting by is Brian Johnson, getting by Philip Chavez. The pass is pretty much complete in the background now, as William Duff goes by Tony Brent. After all of this guy still leads here at Mobility Resort Motegi. 10 laps to go here at the start-finish line. 9.5 as we go to the back straightaway, and 1 lap down will soon be Hunter Karsten. Luckily for Karsten, which I was about to say, luckily for Karsten, he's got a 23-second gap between himself and Heberly, but no, Jared Claude is 1 lap down. I believe that interval is, 6 seconds between Hunter Karsten and Jared Claude, and 23 seconds between Jared Claude and Heberly Telemac. 9 laps to go at the start-finish line. Karsten will give way for the leader of McCann. There I say, coming into this race, one thing I forgot to mention as well is we had Andrew Medlin win race 1. Race 2 went to Brian McCann. I was going to say, there we have a winner whose first name starts with a C. Well, we could, but that would be in very extreme circumstances because Cameron Sarton and Chris Chavez sit 2nd and 3rd. They are primed for that opportunity. Speaking of priming for opportunities, that is Tony Brent. Well, I was going to say getting passed by the 27, but we caught that pretty much right as Brian Johnson was already well by Tony Brent. I think the tire fall off for Brent has severely started to hit. 41.8 seconds. 1 second difference, actually, between Johnson and Brent. So Brent may have used up a little bit more of his tires, or a lot more of his tires. And that 1 second gap is that much. 1.2, 1.3, and it continues. Meanwhile, for 11th place, Philip Chavez trying to defend off Larry Griffin as they enter turns 1 and 2. Griffin tries to go to the inside. Chavez moves just that little bit quicker. Why is he missing a back panel? I remember that. Chavez well on the apron. That's not going to fare too well for your tire grip, that's for sure. Banking difference between 11th, or between 1 and 2 is not the most forgiving. It's flat, but it's still flat enough to say, hey, no. Not enough to use it like you can at Auto Club. Even then, it is a challenge to stay down there on the inside lane. On the inside apron, actually, over at Auto Club. And, oh, by the way, there's the leader, Brian McCann. Second place, there's Cameron Sarton. And then third place, there is Chris Chavez-Essery getting past the lap car of the 46, I believe that is. Yes, Jared Claude. And then another 5 seconds back is Michael Thorpe Jr. And then 2.5 seconds back is Travis Start, who has Zachary Lovelace lurking in the mirrors by about 0.7 of a second. 0.2 of a second faster is Zachary Lovelace. 6 laps to go at the start-finish line. William Duff thinks, I believe, is actually closing in on Ryan Lynch. Yes, he is, by about 0.6 of a second lap time difference at the start-finish line. Dare I say, does Brian McCann go back-to-back? The first driver to go back-to-back in this season. Granted, it's only race 3, which I am very well aware of, but that doesn't mean we wouldn't have multiple drivers going back-to-back in the next portion of this season. See how things fare in the meantime. As Ken goes through, putting Philip Chavez 1 lap down. Taking a look at the potential battle between Travis Dart and Zachary Lovelace. We can hear Lovelace downshifting too, even from the external camera here. And upshifting a little bit as well. That was ooh. I saw that slide off the corner, and he just lost 0.2 of a second there. Yep, that was the 0.2 of a second. Tony Brent well off the pace. Is he going to come down pit road? He might have a tire down, actually. Tony Brent has blinked and he's decided, all right, I'm done with these tires. And same with Philip Chavez. He also comes into pit road. These two are now on the same lap. With 3 laps to go, the tires have not lasted for these drivers. Will it last for the rest of the field? That's going to be the question that we'll find out the answer to here in, let's say, 2.5 laps time, really. Jared Claude moves up to 12th place. At the start-finish line, it will be 2 laps to go. Very solid race by Brian McCann once again, and you know, battles seem to have relatively fizzled out. Chavez and Brent filtered out to 14th and 15th respectively. Actually, 15th and 14th if I said Chavez and Brent. Apparently, names are confusing all of a sudden, but one thing that is not confusing is not only the white flag that is about to be displayed, but the run that Brian McCann has went on for not only not the first race in a row, that is for sure. White flag out for Brian McCann in the number 8 machine. I think he's coasting. I could be wrong, but in turns 1 and 2, it was oddly silent there for Brian McCann. Probably just making sure he gets to the end, which I don't really blame him too much. So, across the final 2 corners, and he's just in a very low rev. He's just not even downshifting, which fair enough. Once again, as he rounds the corner for the 2nd week in a row, a dominant run by Brian McCann. He wins at Mobility Resort Motegi. 2nd place, Cameron Sarton. And a 3-wide finish for a couple positions. 3rd place, Chris Chavez-Essery. Michael Thorpe Jr. has not crossed the line just yet. It's not over until it's over, and still sliding off turn 4. He finishes in 4th place. 5th place, Travis Dart. Zachary Lovelace, 6th. 7th place, Ryan Lynch. 8th place, William Duff. And 9th place, Brian Johnson. 10th place, Larry Griffin. He is 1 lap down. And there is the race winner, Brian McCann. Wonderful, wonderful job once again for the 2nd week in a row. And rightfully so, he will burn it down here on the front straightaway. A very rightfully long burnout for that number 8 machine. Fantastic job by Brian McCann. And we just let the moment sink in and take a look at the finishing results. Point standings will be updated momentarily. Apparently Tony Brent had some wheel damage is what happened. Quote, I had wheel damage and did not plan that well. So that's what happened to Tony Brent. So not necessarily tire wear, but wheel damage as well. Probably had one too many run-ins, quite literally, with the outside wall. But regardless, still a race finished by Tony Brent, so that does help him quite a bit. The finishing results currently on your screen as of right now. Brian McCann, once again with another dominant run. He finishes in 1st. Cameron Sarton had a very good early run. He will finish in 2nd. Was not able to challenge Brian McCann just this week. Potentially next week. We'll see how things go as Chris Travis Esri rounds out the 3rd place position, the podium spots. We will get an interview with those 3 momentarily. Michael Thorpe Jr. finishes in 4th place. 5th place, Travis Dart. 6th place, Zachary Lovelace. 7th place, Ryan Lynch. 8th place was William Duff. 9th place, Brian Johnson. And 10th place was Larry Griffin. And the rest of the field, Hunter Karsten finished in 11th. 12th place, Jared Claude. 13th place is Heberly Telemac. Tony Brent and Philip Chavez both pit with a few laps to go. They finish 14th and 15th respectively, 2 laps down. Jonathan Burt, a late join, but finished nonetheless in 16th place, still better than 0 points. Victor Pfluger had taken the car behind the wall early for damage with a little run-in with Hunter Karsten. Too much damage for him to continue, and Doug Pierce finishes in the 18th place position, unfortunately 80 laps down. That is your finishing results, but we are not done quite yet. We will be going through with some post-race interviews here momentarily, but in the meantime, we will be getting your point standings updated at the same time. So stand by as we will get your interviews and points here in just a few moments.
With the Butt Kicker Gamer 2, what you see and what you hear is what you feel. Butt Kicker. The future is feeling.
Here at TWRS, we're always here to help our squad when they need a little push in the right direction. That's just who we are. We're a beautifully diverse group of goofballs dedicated to driving fake race cars as fast as possible. And we continue to push each other to the front using the power of nonsense. We have one of the strongest NASCAR programs on the service, and you can access it all for $24.99 a month. And we just released individual subscriptions for $14.99 a month for each NASCAR vehicle. We also just added a Rallycross program, and our IndyCar program is taking off as well. So come join the weird side. We have speed and cookies. Cookies are not included in some locations.
Well, what a race that has been. I can only say more than that, but relatively pretty solid race by everybody involved, as we are going to start with your post-race interviews here momentarily. We'll be starting off with the number 15 of Chris Chavez Ezeri. Once we get that the driver of the 15 in here, but for the number 15 of Chris Chavez, started 5th, finished 3rd on paper. Not technically a awful race, and well, you also converted a podium out of that, I believe. I'm just going now through the points. The also converted a few stage points out of that, so pretty good going into Dover, if you ask me.
Yeah, I'll definitely take it. Never raced there. I bought the track before the race started, and especially coming off last week, I lost power before the stage break. So yeah, I'll take it.
I can almost relate to that. I'd say almost because I lost internet just as the race was starting. So, but the absolute pain of real life, basically. But I guess it's better than very expensive mechanical failures because it's bad enough as it is. But even still, going into this race, you say you haven't bought Dover or Motegi?
Motegi. That was my first time driving it ever.
Including practice laps. Well, in that case, we'll just pivot to that then. What are your first thoughts with Motegi then? Because the slight lead up, actually, I believe the only other time that NASCAR was in Japan was going to Suzuka. I don't believe they had run at the Oval, and the only series that has ran at the Oval, I believe, was IndyCar.
Yeah, it's honestly like a really big gateway. So I just kind of treated it like that.
That's pretty much the same thought that I had. It's a big gateway and small elements of Darlington in the sense because it has that tight 3 and 4, which I believe is what Gateway has. So maybe I'm just confusing both all of a sudden, but it's more egg-shaped than Gateway, I feel like. So it kind of works out in a sense.
Yeah, it's like almost flipped where 3 and 4 is 1 and 2.
Well, heading into Dover for next week, the concrete, the Monster Mile, effectively, I think there's some sort of a nickname for it that revolves around concrete, but it is, of course, the concrete surface. So the first race of next month as well. Your thoughts heading into next month's race at Dover?
Definitely going to look to save for the long run because these league races have been a lot of green flag runs. So just tire saving and trying to keep up with Brian McCann. Honestly, he's fast.
Yeah, once again, setting another barn burner of a race, effectively. But regardless, a top 3 finish for you, which on the surface, pretty good, pretty consistent. That's the one thing that you would need going into the playoffs in the latter half of the season. So before we go ahead and let you go celebrate your 3rd place finish, shout out who gets it done for you in that number 15.
Shout out to my brother. Shout out to Travis for putting on this league. Shout out for you for a great broadcast. And yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and let you go. Congratulations once again on your 3rd place finish.
thank you.
And that is the 15 of Chris Chavez Ezeri. Once again, a top 3 finish. I believe it won't be the first time he finished in the top 3. I should really have separate stats for this because, oh boy, I would need a lot of those. Someone who probably doesn't want to look at stats is Cameron Sarton because for, I believe, if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, please, I believe for the 2nd week in a row. Could have challenged Brian McCann. Had a really solid run after pit stops as well, but unfortunately, just the tires were too much at the end.
Yeah, I passed a lot of cars in the last couple weeks, not on purpose. Um, Internet went out last week, and then I got a speeding penalty, and then this week I got another speeding penalty. I was a little confused why I got it, and then just got tight behind the in the middle of the pack there, and then tried to conserve my tires. And by the time I got around everyone, it was just too late. But I'll take it. At least I got a good finish this week.
That will explain the answer to my question of the 5.7 second stop that you had being the third stop in your pit sequence. I'm thinking, I didn't think much of it, so I thought it was fuel or something, but penalty would make a lot of sense. But
Yeah.
on the bright side, though, I believe, if I remember correctly as well, I think it was after Daytona where I was talking to Travis post race, and he brought you up, and you had, I believe, like the most passes effectively after Daytona. So you're just on a passing spree all of a sudden.
I am. It was nice the first half of the race today. I didn't really pass but one car, and I was just kind of lollygagging up there, enjoying my time, and then another little bitty mistake on my part, I guess. Still not sure where I went over a lot, but hey, it is what it is.
And of course, it does hurt when it happens, but you still had of course, a really solid recovery. I think the help of if I remember correctly, the timing of the pit stop as well. In fact, I could just look at the lap history on the side really quickly. It did help that it was probably looks to be before a caution, so I'm not finding that pit stop. But regardless, though, a solid recovery and heading into Dover next week. So, your thoughts on the concrete? I keep wanting to call it the concrete bowl for some reason. That is not what it's called, but I feel like there's a nickname for Dover with concrete involved. But regardless, I believe it's the self-washing, self-clearing racetrack is probably what I'm mixing it up with.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It's one of my better tracks, so hopefully I can maintain a track position there, up there at the front the whole race, and be there at the end. So, Brian's gonna be the guy to beat probably every week. So if I don't beat myself, I'll have a chance for sure.
Well, before we go ahead and let you go celebrate your second place finish, go ahead and shout out who gets it done for you in that number one machine.
Yeah, shout out to mom, dad, grandparents for watching. Been a while since I got interviewed. Um, the wife, she just got home and found me interviewing, so hello to her. Um, John couldn't be here tonight, so luckily we got a podium for Ghost Racing, and Travis obviously for putting this on every week, and yourself up in the booth. So appreciate you, and we'll see you next week, hopefully.
Hopefully, without internet issues
Yeah.
having very convenient timing right as we're about to start the broadcast. Hopefully, that was the case. But thanks for your time, and we hope to talk to you again next week.
Yeah. See you, man.
And that is Cameron Sarton, the second place finisher, currently going through the point standings, and we'll show you that just after interviews here. I just need to double check 35, 34, 33, 32, 31, 30, 29, 28, 27, 26, 25. I'm pretty sure I got that right. 24 points for Heberly this week. And in the meantime, as I continue to get the points updated, somebody who would probably love to see the points updated is race winner Brian McCann. Once again, another dominant run in the number 8. And in fact, while I have this up on my screen, let's see if I can find it. I was about to say, for 2 weeks in a row, you had 50 points. You had 49 points this race, unless I miscounted, but provisionally, still a very good run. So in the last 2 weeks, you have earned 99 points after missing Daytona too. So it's just been a great 2 weeks for you.
Yeah, I hate to miss this Daytona, but 2 wins back to back. Yeah, we'll take it. Love this track. At first, I struggled with it. Cameron, he came out strong and got me on the pit road there. And in that dirty air, I think that was an important factor tonight. That lead car had a huge advantage. So I hate it for him. I think something happened to him in the pits, but shuffled him back and gave me back the lead. And smooth sailing from there.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's something I kind of noticed is that the dirty air seemed to be a little bit more prevalent. I almost said prevalent for some reason. It has been a day apparently, but a little bit more prevalent, prominent is probably a better word. So, clean air is king, to quote Oscar Piastri after this week at Formula One. So apparently it worked out well in your favor in this case as well. So, your thoughts as we head through from Motegi, from a very wide egg-shaped-esque kind of gateway, kind of Darlington-inspired oval, over to Dover for next week.
Yeah, that'd be quite the change in everything. Smaller track, huge banking, different surface. So we're gonna have to make sure we don't kill our right front, just like here. It was all about a right front. That's what you had to manage the whole time. So Dover's the same way. So I'm excited about it.
Of course, heading into skipping ahead a little bit to the week after Dover, we head to the Red Bull Ring, where very prominently only done for just the Formula Series rather than stock cars. So even I haven't done a couple test laps. I might do that myself just to see how things go. But your thoughts heading into early thoughts, I guess, we'll go with heading into that. Have you even driven the Red Bull Ring by chance?
I'm not sure. To be honest, I can't really picture what track that is. So whatever it is, I don't know a lot about it. So that's gonna be one that I have to learn.
That's going to be something to definitely look ahead for. So before we go ahead and let you go celebrate your second race win in a row, go ahead and shout out who gets it done for you in that number 8 once again.
Yeah, shout out to my family. Repeat 1975 for being my spotter tonight. Amazing calls. You for doing the broadcast, league admins for doing all the behind the scenes stuff, race control, and drivers and everybody watching tonight. Thank you.
And thank you for your time, and congratulations once again on your race win for this week at Motegi. And that is the number 8 of Brian McCann. And good news is that we should have, hypothetically, our updated point standings. And even then, if I will say, just as a heads up, these are provisional because I might have entered a number incorrectly, which is always possible, apparently, with these things. So let's throw it over to the B-roll or track intro graphic really quickly and bring up the point standings once it refreshes. Oh, that's embarrassing. It's just not even updating. Oh, great. That's fantastic. It's going to be one of these days, isn't it? Well, that's a bit awkward. To think I had tried this before and it wasn't going and it updated too. That is a little bit unfortunate. Well, before we show the point standings, let's look once again at the schedule for the upcoming races. Andrew Medlin, Brian McCann, 2-time race winner for this season. Next week is Dover. Then we head to the Red Bull Ring. We head back to the States for Michigan and then Iowa to round out the month of August. Now, appropriately enough, we do head to Darlington in September. Charlotte Oval, of course. We're not going to run 150 laps of the road course, although that would be very intriguing. But the Charlotte Oval in September, on September 10th, and then Nashville Fairgrounds doubleheader at the 10th race of the season, going into Bristol, Kansas, and then Sonoma for the last 3 races of the regular season. And we'll see if we can try and get the points updated one more time, just make sure everything will actually importantly respond to an update. It is not. We'll try one more method before we go ahead and sign off. If we do not have this working, then good news is that we will have this post race on the community tab where you can see the updated point standings in instances like this. Hey, there we go. It just took a restart. All right. Well, that's our updated point standings by 2 points. Oh my goodness. That is a top 4.5. My goodness. Tony Brent leads provisionally by 105 points. Emphasis on provisionally. Once we get that dragged in. Whoops. That is my apologies. That was not up on the screen the whole time. That's embarrassing. But Tony Brent leads with 105 points. Michael Thorpe Jr. leads, or at least is in second place. A 2-point gap by 103. Another 2-point gap to Travis Dart, who sits third. And then another 2-point gap to Brian McCann in fourth place. I'm telling you, these stage points, while it seems silly, they do matter. Zachary Lovelace at 98 points, 96 points for Hunter Karsten, who has a little bit of breathing room for now between himself and Chris Chavez Essery. Cameron Sarton at 89 points, who has a little bit of breathing room between himself and Brian Johnson now. William Duff, Philip Chavez, and Ryan Lynch all 1 point within each other. That is a 4-point spread between 9th and 12th in the point standings. Jared Claude sitting 3 points behind the provisional cut line of 12th place for the round of 12, but we still have quite a ways to worry about that before we need to worry about that. Tied is Victor Pfluger at 75 points, Trey Jackson at 71 points, Jonathan Burke, who showed up a little bit late today, but did manage to get some points in. He goes up to 16th place, so that finish did help him quite a lot. Doug Pierce at 70 points, Everly Telematic at 67, Larry Griffin at 65, Andrew Medlin at 47. Corey Mower was not able to make it this week, sits at 46 points, still mathematically, I believe, especially at this point in the season, has a chance to still get into the top 12. Dave McConnell, Jeffrey Souza, Bill Dart, John Dart, and Sam Siegel round out the rest of the 26 championship standings. But that will do it here for the Racing Line Network. Thanks everyone so much, and apologies once again for the internet issues that we had earlier. If this is re-uploaded at a different time and it doesn't say streamed on, there was probably an issue with with everything starting to come back. But if there isn't, then we're fine. But apologies again for the internet issues, but that is the life of internet apparently. But that does not stop us from saying, hopefully, that we will see you next week at Dover. Keeping in mind, Dover, it's going to be one heck of a race. High banks, well, not high banks, but pretty decently banked. Some concrete to worry about. The self-cleaning racetrack, and as per usual, a little bit of tire wear to keep an eye on. So we will see you all next week, and I'll leave you with this question. Do you think Brian McCann can make it 3 in a row? Or at least, I'll make this a bit easier. Do you think he can make it 3 top 3s in a row? A little bit of a hat trick of sorts. We'll see how things go next week. Good night from Motegi.